Hello, welcome in, happy Monday, not Friday, there it is, we fixed it. Y'all, welcome in, happy Monday to ya. I hope you're staying warm. It's pretty cold out there, as evidenced by the jacket. Even inside, I'm pretty chilly this morning. Hopefully your power's still on, hopefully it's toasty in your house. And any ice or snow or other difficulties will pass very soon. I wish I had a book that had a snowy background cover, because I'd love to use it as a background. It feels thematically appropriate today, but I don't have one. Never thought about that until now. Let me pop over there and look real quick. Yeah, no, I mean, nothing works, really. Maybe if we pulled deep into the sequels, we could find something. But, for now, we're here, as usual. And I did not have enough foresight to make some sort of wintry background. So we'll have to make do with the regular one. Other name wasn't available, my friend. Good to see you. How you been? I hope the weather was kind to you. Are you warm? Are you comfortable? I hope so. We're chilly here in Houston, and, it's fine. But I'm not loving it. You know how it goes. Oh, my coffee looks terrible on camera. You live in Michigan, so this is just a regular winter for you. Gotcha. You're hardened for it. This is just good pond skating conditions, right? Well, rock on, dude. I'm glad to hear that. You guys are prepared for the cold up there, right? Like, your houses are hardened against it. You have better insulation. Your infrastructure can handle it. We get a little bit of ice down here and everything falls to pieces. Millie, good to see you. Welcome in. I am sorry that you're walking home from school in the rain. That doesn't sound very fun. Hopefully it's not too cold, but I mean, it's winter everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, so I imagine that's pretty cold. I'm sorry about that, Millie. Hopefully it warms up for you, which is true for everybody, I think, on stream at the moment. Crazy how cold it is out there. Even for Houston, we got a good snowstorm by Houston standards last year, but it wasn't this cold. This is just pure cold, which is not my preference, but here we are. Grumden, welcome in, my dude. Good to see you as well. Hey, hope you have a good Monday lined up, a good week ahead, and hopefully we can all return to some normal temperatures pretty soon. As always, Monday is Ask Me Anything, so if you have questions about books or writing or the publishing industry, anything like that, please do ask away. I am here to answer. Hopefully I can help. And hey, we'll see how it goes. So, as per usual, y'all, you know the drill. The coffee's hot, the weather is cold, the questions are hopefully coming. Ghost, you said question. This isn't a question, but what do you use to make your map? Oh, you're good. That's a valid question, Ghost. I'll type it in chat for you. I use Incarnate. It is an online map maker. I guess they have an app now too you can download, but I just put the name of it in chat there for you. Because it's a little bit weird. You say it aloud, it doesn't sound like it sounds. It doesn't sound like it's spelled. That's the way we do it. Spike, my guy, welcome in. Yo, I'm just realizing I'm a little bit hoarse from hockey. I guess I did a bit too much yelling yesterday. But good to see y'all. Thank you for joining me. Welcome in. As always, I hope you are warm and happy and the weather is not too bad. And if you have any questions, please do ask away. I would love to answer. Siltsy? I'm not sure how to read that. I'm going to call you Sil. You said, is Incarnate free? Yes, they do have a free subscription. I'm not up to date on what the free plan has, but they have always had a free plan. I think it's a little worse than it used to be, though. Steven, welcome in, my guy. Spike, you said, how do you write character motivations? I find it so hard. So for character motivations, you just have to identify one thing that they really like and or want or care about, and design them around that. Now give them a couple other things that they like, but on a lesser scale. I think it's easiest if you're starting out designing characters, to design very driven characters. So start with that, and then as I always say, give them a flaw. Give them something that they're bad at, that they do that hinders them, and it holds them back from getting what they really want, and they have to grow past that flaw to get better. Real user, you said Asmongold, and you have triggered the Asmongold counter, and look at that, reference number 99. That's a momentous occasion. 99. Who's going to be number 100? It's got to be organic, though. We can't just throw it out there just to hit 100. It's got to be organic. Spike, I hope that helps. Thank you, man. I appreciate the question. Malort Lover said, how much Malort do you need per book? Preferably none. I try to live my life with as little Malort in it as possible. Devorn, you said, why is there an Asmongold counter? Because I just get that reference. People say I look like Asmongold so often that we just created that counter for fun. NA League support, what happens at 100? I don't know. I guess we just celebrate. It's a fun number. I don't know, though. Let's see, Devor, or no, sorry, who said it? Someone asked a question. There, Steven, you said, where do you go to publish things? So it depends on the sort of publishing you're looking for. If you want to do a web novel, you can go to sites like Royal Road, Archive of Our Own, or Wattpad. Those are all great for web novel publishing. If you want to do self-publishing, then you might go to like Kindle Direct Publishing, which is through Amazon, or equivalents. And if you want to do traditional publishing, you would or small press, you would go to publishers. If it's traditional publishing, you'd start with agents, literary agents. If it's small press, you probably just query the press itself. Johnny Bones, you love the background. Well, thank you, my guy. I appreciate that. It is the cover art for my most recent book right here. Well, it's the full wrap, honestly. It's the covers over here and then the back covers here, so you're kind of getting both. Some dude, you love watching the streams? Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. I love having you watch the streams. Thank you for joining me. Leisha, good morning. Good to see you. NA League support, you got a message saying your account's at risk of not being able to comment? What's up with that? Don't take away my regulars. NA League support's always here, TikTok. What are you doing? Leisha, I meant to say I hope you're warm. I hope you're doing good with the weather. I believe you're up north, right? You're at least more north than me, I can say that. But there's few people in the country who aren't. Ghost Derek, you said, do you think making a map could help making stories? Yeah, it could serve as an inspiration for you in your world building. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't spend too long on it and let it stop you from making progress in the story, unless you're just doing it for fun. Then you progress at whatever speed you want to. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. Sung Moon, good to see you. Hey, it's almost F1 season. Don't think about it, but we're almost there. It's almost time. Eddie, how long did it take you to write the book? So I've written a lot of them. Here's some of them. Normally it takes me about 2.5 to 3.5, maybe 4 months per book. I aim for that 2.5, and I inevitably always mess it up. But yeah, that's about that pace. Now, that's a lot of practice. I've written a lot of books up to this point, so I've got a lot of practice to get to that point. Leisha, you think you're further south than me? You got to be in... Wait, are you in Florida, Leisha? Did I blank on that? You might be. That's about the only state that's further south than me. It's not Hawaii. Lions and Lore, good to see you. Mini Robots on video app, hello to you as well. Y'all, I hope you're warm and cozy and your power's on in this winter storm, which is probably getting most of us. Flores, you said you're not a writer or anything, but you love the vibe of my lives. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out, Flores. It's good to have you. And you can ask. Questions aren't just for writers or artists. You can ask whatever you want, really, within reason. And people love to ask math formulas as a joke, which is great. But I got 2 liberal arts degrees, and none of those are in math. Math and I do not get along. Leisha, you said it's cold and rainy today, but the winter storm hasn't caught up here. It's supposed to get cold Tuesday. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I hope you get a little bit of cold, but it doesn't hang around too long. I'm already sick of it here. We've had too much of it. Gustav, welcome in, man. You said, how do you not get burnout? By the way, you look like a bald version of that political streamer. All right, that counts as the reference. We got it. Gustav, I'll answer your question in just a moment. But first, I am happy to bestow upon you the honor of being the 100th Asmongold reference on stream. So there it is. 100. Gustav, congrats. It has been several months in the coming, but you have achieved it, my man. God, cheers for Gustav in the chat, y'all. Gustav, let me get your question again. You said, how do you not get burnout? So I still do get burnout at times. The best way to avoid it is realizing that writing is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not about how many words can you write each day. It's how many words can you write each day and not get burned out. So, like, my most words written in a day is like 16,000. My average words written in a day that allows me to not burn out is like 2,000. And that's with working at it all day long, right? So burnout is really just about overworking yourself. So you just got to find what's an acceptable amount for you to work and stay within that, basically. Good question. Grumden. Ooh, I like this. Grumden said they used the world of their novel as a D&D setting that they ran for their friends, and it helped a lot. Yeah, right? Because that makes you think about things you wouldn't otherwise think about in your world. You got to start thinking about the little nitty-gritty details. It brings it to life. That's awesome, dude. I hope that went well. I hope they liked it. Did they? Mario, you said, what are some tips you have on story writing? And I love your work, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Tips I have on story writing. Do write what makes you excited. Like, write explicitly what you enjoy. The readers can tell when you're having fun when you're writing. So just make sure you're writing to entertain yourself first, and the audience will follow, essentially. Outside of that, I think write short stories before you dive into writing novels. They're just the best practice. You can submit them to short story contests. They're all positives. Definitely start with short stories. Jeremiah, you said Asmongold. Well, we hit 100 on the counter today, and now on up to 101 right away. Welcome in, my friend. Vex, you said, what have I written? So I have published 11 novels now. Here's the book ones from that. It's fantasy stuff up top. It's lit RPG down below. But my most recent is Wriggly Little Hands here, which is a comedy fantasy, and Servant of Rage here, which is kind of like a darker epic fantasy. So yeah, fair few books. You can find them all linked in my bio if you want, if you click in there. H.R. Vatska said, do you have any tips for writing beginnings for a story? Ooh, I do love beginnings. My favorite part of a story. So in the beginning, what you need to do is start with something that is enticing. It's a hook, right? It gets the readers interested, and hopefully it makes them ask a question. So you want to, with your cover, with your title, and specifically with your opening line, get the readers hooked with something unexpected, something exciting, something that might make them ask a question. So when you're thinking about the beginning of your story, you need to take that into consideration and ask yourself, what's the most interesting point I can start this story at? Secondary question, what is the latest in the story that I can start without confusing the readers? So you don't want to be like, here's chapter 1. We're 2 weeks before the events of the story actually take place. Let me introduce you to my characters for the next 2 weeks, and then the actual narrative pace will pick up. Instead, what you want to do is say, actually, the story started last week, and I got to get you up to speed like right away because we're already hitting the ground running. Let's go. That's the best way to get readers in. As for the rest of beginnings, just set up the elements that are important for the rest of the story, basically. Good question. I haven't gotten that one too much. Let's see. How do you deal with burnout? Another burnout question. No, you're good, Dakota. Happy to answer it again. Thank you for asking. Burnout is really just working too much. It's important to consider there's a difference between burnout and lack of inspiration. There are two different things. Burnout is overwork leading to exhaustion, leading to creative blocks. So you avoid burnout by not working too much and by identifying what's a writing schedule that I can comfortably stick with, and how many words per day can I write without overexerting myself and getting burnout. The other side of that is a lack of inspiration, and that just happens naturally over the course of the book. Every author I know, myself included, has some part of the book where we're just like, oh, I hate this story. It's so bad. I don't know what I'm writing. It's not going to be good. You just got to push through that, even if you're uninspired and unexcited about it, because the inspiration will come back, and then in editing, you can fix what feels like the weaker segments for you. So identify if it's burnout or a lack of inspiration. If it's burnout, rest and recover. If it's lack of inspiration, keep writing and push through it, and things will improve. Sung Moon, you said, I'm already sick of the cold. I am, man. I live in warm weather climates. The cold is not for me. I don't know. I'm just not here for it. Our house is made to diffuse heat, not to hold it in, so it gets cold in this house. When it's cold outside. All right, y'all, if I missed your question, please ask it again. I do want to answer them all. I just ramble a bit too much sometimes. Where was it? Kithkin, that's a good name, over on Video App. Oh, and Jessica Preston, you said, I'm sorry, but it's a author. Ask an author. Ask a author. It's not a author. It's ask an author. I'm not the best at grammar, but I'm pretty sure about that. Kithkin on Video App, you said, I'm looking for a way to make the right decision. Oh, okay. So that is not particularly writing related, but I would say do what makes sense for you. You said you're living in, fixing up an old trailer to rent versus renting out my mother's house in a different state and saving. I don't know enough to advise you on that, but I mean, fixing up something like that turns it from an unusable asset into an asset, so that seems like a good decision, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that one. But I appreciate the effort and the cool name. Let's see what we got here. Kit, you said, what advice would you give for someone trying to start out on a fantasy story? So kind of what I said earlier about the beginnings. Start the story as late in the story as possible without confusing the readers, because you want them to join. You want the reader to feel like they just walked into like a party 15 minutes late, and they're like, "Oh crap, let me catch up. What's been happening?" Because that feeling, that's like that feeling of like, "Oh, let me catch up," that's going to make them stick around and give them a little bit of drive to continue reading the story, and that's the hook that you want. Also, you want to hook them with an interesting opening sentence or an interesting first chapter, etc. So hook them however you can, basically. But you're saying trying to start out on a fantasy story. So yeah, basically that. And then Kit, the most important thing is write what you're most excited about. You have to be the first one to be entertained by the story. So write what excites you the most, you know? Kithkin, you said you are unqualified as well for that work. But hey man, I appreciate you working at it, right? Everybody's unqualified until you just practice enough. I was repairing a pinball machine this weekend, and I'm not particularly good at that, but I'm starting to do it enough now that we're getting there, right? So you gotta be bad before you're good. Effort's what matters the most, my guy. Wickety, you said hello. How you doing, bro? Gorgeous beard, by the way. Tips for the beginning of a first chapter. Oh, we got a lot of beginning questions today. So Wickety, kind of what I talked about, but you said especially in the context of the setting. So with the setting, I personally am a fan of sprinkling in setting details bit by bit. That's just stylistic. It's really up to you. You could do, a couple sentences laying the setting out very clearly early on. Just be aware that when you do that, you risk losing momentum, and the readers could fall off. Kind of like when I take too long to answer a question on stream, people leave because I'm not answering their questions. Similar concept. So describe the setting how you want to, but keep in mind that action, dialogue, mystery, these things are what draw the readers in more than setting. Setting is something you build later on in the story. There's almost a hierarchy of buy-in, and readers buy in faster on characters, conflict, mystery, and then the second lower level is setting, if that makes sense. You said, what book did you write? Like your most well-known? So my most well-known would be Warden. This has sold the most copies. It's in the tens of thousands of copies sold, which is still small beans for, any big-time author. I'm a very small fry author. This is probably my second best right here. It's catching up on Warden. We're getting there. But I have 11 novels published now. Some have done better than others, but we're going to keep writing them. And they're all linked in my bio, by the way. If you want to check them out, you can find them all there. Fervent, I have played D&D. I'm, in fact, a big fan of it. I'm hoping to DM soon. I had to put it off because I had too much work, but I got a group. We got some ideas. I really want to DM soon, so fingers crossed. Have you? Holes, you said, what do you think about web novels, Chinese/Korean? So I've never read a Chinese or Korean web novel. I've read some like Royal Road web novels, lit RPG type stuff. I think web novels are awesome though, within that context at least. It's the purest form of writing, man. You write the chapter, you edit it, you publish it, the readers go, they check it out, they give you some feedback, you write the next chapter. It's awesome, man. The people writing web novels are just in it for the love of the game, and I got mad respect for that. Again, if I missed your questions, please ask again. I do want to answer them all. I just, like I said, ramble too much. Onaj Tamo said, nice jacket. Where'd you buy it? Well, thank you. This came from Burlington Coat Factory in Revere, Massachusetts in 2018. I don't know if they're still selling them, but I guess if I had to recommend a jacket store, there you go. Up in Revere. Alexis, you said, excited to read Servant of Rage. It was gifted to me for New Year's. Oh, that's awesome. Rock and roll. I hope you enjoy it. let me know what you think of it. But I'm so glad that someone gave that gift to you. I appreciate them. Please tell them thank you on my behalf. Where was I? Saw one that was there it was. Lag Bushka, I think it's supposed to be. You said, is there any particular education you would need to be a better author? I think the most beautiful thing about writing is that you get better at it by reading books and writing stories. And if you enjoy those things, it's a perfect feedback loop, right? Read books, have fun. Write stories, have fun, repeat. So I think the best education is to read a lot of novels in the genre you want to write. Read a couple novels, maybe 10%, in other genres that are popular, just to learn what's kind of going on there. And then write a ton of short stories for yourself, for contests. It's great practice for writing novels. And if you do those three things, I think you'll be rocking and rolling, man. Van Nan said, what do I need to learn if I want to be an author? I find it overwhelming and I don't know where to start. I kind of just answered that a little bit. So I'd say read a lot of books in the genre you want to write, read a little bit of books in other genres, write short stories. But I think that you're a little bit before that point when it comes to writing. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, don't worry about all the moving elements required for writing a book. Instead, just sit down and think about a cool scene that you'd like to write. Maybe there's a market you want to describe in your world. Just write a scene walking through that market and describing what you see. Then, if you've got a character, maybe write that scene again with the character walking through that market and see how they see things differently, what they notice. Basically, start small. You don't have to do a whole big novel, a whole big world right off the bat. You can do little short stories that just have a couple characters and a small conflict. If you feel overwhelmed, just focus in on the little stuff. Alex Christescu, good to see you. You just sent your first submission and you don't know what to do with your life until you wait for an answer. Hey, man, that's tough. But congratulations, by the way. Very nice. Where did you send it to? Where was it? Where was it subbed to? So we can cross our fingers and pull for you. The best thing to do while you're waiting for a response is to start on the next story. The submission is already out of your hands, right? So it's going to require minimal work from now on, maybe resubmitting at other places, maybe responding to responses. So start on your next story so that whatever happens with that first submission, you've got your next story ready to go at the end. It's said in writing, the best thing you can do is start writing the next book, and it's very true. NA League support, have you written on Royal Road? I have written a little bit on Royal Road. I did The Far Wild. I released on Royal Road chapter by chapter for a little bit. But I haven't done too much on there. I read mainly on there. I'm excited to do another book on there. Hot Goblin, good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. I appreciate the support. Hope you're doing well. Wickety, you said if a villain is perfect, how would the hero defeat them? So here's the kind of the core crux of a positive progression arc for a character, a positive change arc. The character should not be able to beat the villain until they learn an important lesson that makes them a better person. So basically, the character has the thing that they want, and then the thing that they need. They don't realize the thing they need because they're distracted by the thing they want. When they attempt to get the thing they want, they will fail in that process until they have the realization and achieve the thing that they need. And by achieving that, they get stronger, which allows them to get the thing that they want. So the villain should be defeated when the main character learns something about themselves, understands an important lesson, and unlocks, more heights of power or the, additional allies, etc. But by resolving their inner conflict, they gain the power to resolve the outer conflict, basically. So that should allow them to beat the villain. Annie, you could totally do a web novel with choices that reader feedback determines where it goes. That'd be really cool. Like, write a chapter, post it, and then put a comment on the bottom that's like, which of these 4 decisions do you want to see happen? And then whoever gets the most votes, you write that. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be really fun. The main challenge would be you wouldn't have a backlog. Because a lot of people that write web novels will have backlogs of chapters. That way, if writing the newer chapter takes longer, they don't miss their posting schedule. But I think people would be forgiving if they understand that you are writing the next chapter based on their choices. It'd be pretty cool. If you try it, let me know. It sounds awesome. The Mr. Knight asked author Alex Knight, is it difficult to get a book published? It depends on the form of publishing, but on the whole, I would say yes to no. Self-publishing, no one's going to tell you you can't do it. You can just go do it. Web novel publishing, same deal. Just start publishing. Traditional publishing, small press publishing, these are a little bit harder. Small press is a bit easier. Traditional has a bit more gatekeeping, bit more gate checks you have to pass. But it's not that bad. Lines and lore, you said Ancalagon or Ungoliant. Who would win? I'm going with Ungoliant. I love them as a character. I think they're just such a cool monster. Delving deep into the lore there. Lines and lore editorial. Miriam, you said, what is your thoughts on writing philosophy books? I've never written one. My thoughts are largely that I don't feel qualified enough to advise people on philosophy. I think there's smarter people out there than me that could do that. I like to write entertaining books because I feel qualified to do that. I would be worried. I'd be worried trying to impart life lessons on people and stuff. It's Mary over on Video App said, is there any book you would recommend to a teenager? Mary, do they like reading? And if so, what genre? If not, I can give you a general recommendation. But let me know if they like reading or not. I think that's important because it changes the answer. Okay, I missed a lot of questions here. I'm sorry. Please ask again if I missed it. I'm sorry about that. Melissa Lee, good to see you. The snow didn't stop the stream. Let's go, she says. Yes, it's just cold out today. We didn't get any ice, so we're... Whew, for the moment, the power's still on. Destroy and Dan, good to see you as well. I hope you're both doing well in the cold. Let's warm up a little bit, huh? I'm ready for it. Okay, Mary, you replied. You said you are open to all genres and occasionally read, but not too much. Okay, so it sounds like I would want to recommend you something that's kind of a quick page turner then. For that, I'm going to say try, if we're going to go a little bit thicker, try The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. That's quite a page turner. Or if you want something that's goofy and quick and light, try Wriggly Little Hands. Obviously a little bit of self-promotion here, but it's very funny and goofy. It's almost straddling the line between like cartoon and story. I think that could be a good one to try. Rock, Paper, Caesar. That's a good name. How do you make a character haunt the narrative when they only appear briefly? They should have actions that affect the narrative, or they should have done things in the past that affect any of the main characters, such that that past trauma, that past influence, or those current actions affect the choices the main characters make. That would make a character who's not actually present on page affect the story more. Destroy and Dan, you said your account is also at risk of being able to comment. You're the second one of my consistent followers who said that today, so I don't know what's going on with TikTok. I would suspect it's a glitch, probably. But I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it's just a glitch and nothing comes of it. They occasionally have the bugs on this website. Let's see. Eclipse, you're almost finished with Jurassic Park. Hey, are you liking it? I hope that you're enjoying it. Eclipse, let me know. Jade, you said, maybe not your type of question. How do you think we fix the decline of reading among youth? Ooh, good question, Jade. I think we're actually seeing a rise in some categories of readers. If my memory is correct, we're seeing a lot more young women readers and a lot less young boy readers, young men readers, I suppose I should say. I think it's because currently publishing is chasing what is making them the most money, and romance has always been consistent, and the combination of romance and fantasy into romantasy has been a heck of a mover of books lately. So I think that that's led to more young women readers. So I think the answer is just to continue writing books for all, kind of all categories there. We need adventure books, we need romantasy books, we need mysteries. More advanced than that, I'm not sure I'm qualified to say. I'm sure there's someone out there smarter who studies reading trends and why people read, but on the creative side of thing, all we can do is make books that we enjoy and that hopefully other people will enjoy. Ryan K12, you said you have a question on video app. Please ask away. I will do my best to answer. Or sorry, it was David K12R. Please ask away. Other name, you're also... Yeah, okay, you were the other one that said you're at risk of commenting. I don't know what TikTok's doing with that. Fat Frog, good to see you, my guy. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're not too cold in this winter storm today. Thank you for the follows, folks. I appreciate you. And thank you for the questions. Let's get back to them. Lag, you said you can't write on command. When you're writing outside of that inspiration period, it feels like you're forcing it. That happens. Writing is a really finicky, creative thing. It'll feel like you're forcing it sometimes. The good news is you can always fix it in editing. So push through when it feels like you're forcing it, and then just give extra attention to that section in editing. Am I going to do romantasy? Asked Moose. Probably not. My vow for going forward is to do a little more romance in my books. I've had literally 0% up to this point. So my goal is to do a little bit more of that, just to force myself to grow as an author. But I'm not going romantasy anytime soon. Sammy O'Brien said, how do you deal with writer's block in your own way? My solution for writer's block is I have to identify the cause first. Is it from burnout or is it from lack of inspiration? If it's from burnout, then I need to rest. I need to take a day or two off from writing and not think about writing. That's rarely the case, though. I've got my work schedule down such that I don't burn out too often. So it's largely when I get it, lack of inspiration. And what I do for that is I set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes, and I force myself during that timer to write in the world of my story. Nonstop. Doesn't matter if it's bad, doesn't matter if it's good, we just write until the timer's done. This often tricks my brain into getting the creative gears churning, and by the time that timer's done, I'm ready to write. So that's my solution for it. But it's an intensely personal challenge, so you might have a different solution. Lines and Lore, you said, do you think publishing will move it more into capturing successful indie publish versus new debuts? Yes, I think so. Thank you for the follow, by the way. I think so. I also think that we're already seeing that. Traditional publishing is always looking for a safe bet on books, so a book that has captured enough readers on the indie side of things, they're more than happy to pick that up and republish it. Look at Dungeon Crawler Carl as a recent example. I don't know if they're going to move more into that so much as they're already kind of fully committed to that and are just going to keep doing it, personally. CJ Darakan on Video App, you asked a math formula. I'm not good at math, sorry, so I'm going to say 3.2. Is that correct? Dylan, you said, what advice would you give to someone who would love to start writing but didn't finish high school? My advice would be, luckily, you don't need traditional education, I don't think, to be an author. If you want to start writing, read a lot of books in the genre you want to write in. Read a couple books outside of that genre just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. And then write short stories. Write to entertain yourself, first of all. Write for fun. And just make sure you enjoy it as a hobby before you start turning it into anything more. The first person you have to entertain with your writing is yourself. Let's see. What's my favorite book from the horror genre? Asked Hayes. Jurassic Park personally verges between thriller and horror, but I haven't read too much like straight up horror, so I'm gonna say Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, which is pretty horror light realistically, but I just don't read too much direct horror. I like to do like thriller / horror type vibes. What about you, Hayes? We got some viewers here, I know, that love horror, that got some good recs, but what's your favorite horror book? Fat Frog, you said you wrote a 5,000 word chapter yesterday and forgot to say. Oh no, and you forgot to save it, bro. Oh, Frog, I'm sorry. That hurts, man. Oh, I feel that. Oh, dude, use Google Docs. It has autosave. It'll never happen again. Oh. Dude, pain. Oh. That's going to take a minute to recover from. I'm sorry, Frog. That's rough, man. Brimhold, you said, did you read Project Hail Mary? I'm in the middle of it and can't put it down. I haven't read it yet. I know it's amazing. All my friends, my wife have read it, fellow authors, and say it's incredible. It's on my to-be-read pile. I just got to clear a few books first. I love Andy Weir. The Martian was amazing. I can't wait to read Project Hail Mary. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hear nothing but praise about it. Mark, I'm wondering how you would get your writing out there other than close friends that I show it to. Mark, that's the challenge, my guy. That is the challenge. Find what works for you. That could be genuinely interacting in communities where readers and writers are, becoming a known member of that. That helps. Maybe you're good at ads and you can run ads really well. Maybe you're good on social media. Find what works for you that you enjoy and just keep at it consistently. That's my best advice, while I also search for what works for me because I also struggle with promoting my books. So, that's the challenge. That's one area that I am uniquely not qualified to answer. At least I can tell you what I've tried, and I can tell you what I think you should do, but I don't know necessarily what works. And if I did, I'd be making more money. But we're trying to figure it out. Kiara, you said how... Oh, and speaking of promotion, here's my books, by the way. If you want to give any of them a try, they're linked in my bio. It's fantasy up here. It's lit RPG down below. And a lot of these have sequels. So these might just be book one. Like, this has 4 sequels. This has 2. This has 2 coming, etc., etc. Kiara, you said, how much money have I made? My lifetime earnings as an author are probably around $350,000, something like that, over the last, 5-6 years. So, that averages out to a decent salary each year. But I'd like to make more, obviously. It's a little infrequent. Some years are really good, some years are really bad. I want to get a bit more of an average there. Angry Octopus, you said, what's the illustration on your background? So my background is actually the full cover wrap of this book. So, this is the front cover, and then it shifts over, and this is where, the back cover text is. So shout out to Ivan Shafrin, my cover artist for this book, who did this art. Thank you, Ivan. Have I read The Witcher? I have not read The Witcher. Played the games, haven't gotten around to reading the book. I hear it's good. I'm sure I would enjoy it. Hayes, what map drawer do I use to make my maps? I use Incarnate. I'll put the name in chat for you here. It is an online map maker. Pokebeast, you said, do you know how many books you've sold? So I did keep track of that quite meticulously for several years. It just became too burdensome to get all the data because... So here's the process. I had to pull sales data from Amazon for all my ebooks and paperbacks. I had to pull audiobook data from Audible. But then I have books that are contracted through Audible UK. So I also had to pull audiobook data for 2 books in Audible UK. Then I have books that are sold with I have 5 books sold with a co-author. So those are through a different Audible contract. So I had a different back end that I had to go to get that sales information. Then I have 5 books with a small publisher. They also reported my sales differently. And then I have my self-published books that were not on Audible UK but through Soundbooth Theater, which also reports the data differently. And one book on Ingram Spark. So I basically had about 7 to 8 sources of data I had to pull to keep track of this. And I finally this year gave up on it and just said, it is not worth me spending 2 hours every month just to track all this down just for my own knowledge. So I finally just had to let it go. I really loved having that information, but it was just too much work to keep track of it. It wasn't, the return on investment wasn't there. Ava Products on Video App, you said, how long did it take you to write? Specifically, like one of my books, around 2.5 months to 4 months is roughly where I'm at for them. I like to be closer to the 2.5, but things happen. Ken Kaizen, what's up, my guy? How's the writing been going, buddy? Ken's got some pretty cool creative projects going on. If you want to check out his profile, very cool dude. Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing good. PokeBeast, in terms of how many books I've sold, if I had to put a number on it, let's see. This is the big dog. This one's pulling tens of thousands sold. The rest are probably equal to about that. Maybe 2/3 of that. So I'm probably around like 30 to 40,000 total books sold, if I had to guess, across all formats. Like I said, though, I stopped keeping that data this year. It was just too much work. Meg H, good to see you. Isabel, good to see you as well. Welcome in. I hope y'all are warm and cozy with this winter storm blasting across America. Noah, yes, it is a coffee mug that looks like a carafe. It was a gag gift. I love it. Ava Products, you said months? I'm still working on my book for over a year now. Hey man, that's all good. That's all good. Don't worry about it. I have written probably 14, 15 books at this point, 11 of which are published. I have a lot of practice. It is my full-time job as well. I imagine you're probably not working on it. You probably have a job that you do to, keep money coming in, and then you write in your spare time. Also, I just got a lot of practice at it. So, writing speed isn't a competition. You will get better the more you practice it. And you really can't compare, because I think I write fast for most authors, but I know folks out there that write 10,000 words a day. That's 5 times what I write in a day, and they do that consistently. It's mind-blowing. You really just can't compare the scales. Everybody writes at their own pace, and that's fine. You don't have to, it's not a race, PokeBeast, you said, what's the Nova book? You don't hear me promo that one a lot. I can pull it up for you. So Nova Online, or Warden, book 1 of Nova Online, is my first book. It's a lit RPG, if you're familiar with it. It's kind of like Ready Player One, where characters go into video games to tell the story. It's a completed trilogy, and it's my first book I ever wrote. It's basically a dystopian future where reality is bad, so people retreat into an online video game and maybe use it to bring down the horrible government. Who knows? You'll have to read and see. It's pretty fun. If you like video games, if you like sci-fi, if you like Ready Player One, it's up that alley. Thank you for asking. Alexander, you said, please stop ignoring my question, but I'm scrolling back in chat. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Would a book where superheroes get their powers by taking drugs be a catching idea? Yeah, I mean, that could work. Nothing wrong with it. It's a solid idea. The reality is that ideas are easy, execution is hard. Or, to put it in other words, even a bad idea that's well written can make a good book. Ideally, you want a good idea and have it well written, but I see a lot of early authors, they put too much emphasis on having a good idea right off the bat, and they think that's going to make or break the book. Realistically, it's going to be the writing, and it's going to be your unique voice that makes the storytelling interesting. So what I would say is, if you're excited about it, I think it's a good idea, because that means you're going to tell the story better. You're going to be more entertained, you're going to have more fun, and that just puts you in the right mindset to write a better story. Labushka, you said, what if I'm trying to write heavy books? How do I find fun in that? Well, it might not be fun per se, but it might be meaningful to you. If you're trying to write a book that's sad or traumatic, etc., heavier emotions, make sure that it's meaningful and important to you, and that will replace the entertaining aspect of writing, right? PokeBeast, you said you're big on lit RPG. I'll check it out. You've read DCC, Primal Hunter, and He Who Fights with Monsters. Hey, rock and roll, man. Got a true lit RPG reader up in here. You got the classics read. PokeBeast, if you like lit RPG, I also co-wrote this series with Luke Chimlenko, who you might know from that genre. It's a 5-book series. Up to book 3 is released. Book 4 is coming out in March, and book 5, no release date, but it is written. So we'll see. Andrew, how would you measure the area of a curve in calculus? Incorrectly is how I would do that. I am not good at math. Dr. Siegel, how do you decide? Do you decide to write a book, then think of a story, or the other way around? Well, since it's my job, basically all of my work time is writing. So I spend a lot of time. Even when I'm working on one book, I'm always thinking of new stories in the back of my head and writing those ideas down, so I can have them ready to go when I'm looking for my next book. But it can kind of be either way. Sometimes you just get really inspired about a story and you want to write it. Sometimes you just want to write and you don't have a story and you find it as you go. Both are completely valid. Paji Terry Singe on Video App says, "Do you have a headphone dent?" I think I just naturally have a little dent in my skull there. Most people do. But yeah, it's really convenient. Headset fits right into it, right? What is my fave book? Asked 10. Or books. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I love The Dragonlance Chronicles by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Anything by Joe Abercrombie. And I'm going to give you a sleeper pick, Mel's All Fright Diner. Mel's All Fright Diner by A. Lee Martinez. That's a little bit of an underrated book, in my opinion. Billy, you said you got to ask, are my books like DCC? So this one is very much like it. Now, it's a fantasy setting instead of lit RPG, but not only is this similar in tone to Dungeon Crawler Carl, it also shares Jeff Hayes as an audio narrator and is produced by Sound Booth Theater, just like the audiobooks for DCC. Sound Booth picked it up, I think, because it was very similar to DCC, which was blowing up at the time. And that's kind of the way that I'm writing going forward. So if you like DCC, this one is similar to it. 4-6. Good to see you, my guy. Welcome in. Are you warm? Are you cozy in the storm? Hopefully, obviously, I think your power's on, but I hope you're warm and tucked in as the winter winds blow outside. Aiden, you said, is writing my full-time job? It is. I do write full-time. I'm lucky enough to do that. Some years I make more than others, but we're trying to average it out and then raise it a little bit right now. But that is my full-time job. 4-6, you said, is the bean juice hot? It was. It's not anymore. It's also over-sweetened today. Yeah, not my best cup of coffee ever. How about yours, 4-6? Hopefully you did a better job than I did. Sky, you said, reading Wriggly Little Hands broke my reading slump. I'm 5 books into Dungeon Crawler Carl now. Rock and roll, man. You're having a good time, Sky. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm so glad that Wrigley helped you with that. And, hey, keep enjoying DCC. It's a fun place to be. Pixie, is my last name actually Knight? No, that is a pen name. I actually didn't pick it, though. I had a publisher. I used to work as a ghostwriter. Publishers would hire me to write books, and they'd put a fake author's name on it, and I was just basically, in the background. One of those publishers decided at the last minute that they wanted a real author, a real face to represent the book, and they asked me if I would do it after I had written it. And I was like, sure, but are you going to put my name on it or what? And they came up with the name. Alex is my real name. Knight is not. And they came up with that and put that as my name on it. And that book did well. So they let me have the name as a pen name. And I've been using it ever since. Which book that I made is my favorite? Asked Jet. Ooh. I don't have any favorite children. I love all of my books that I have created equally. And I don't like any more better than the others. Wink. How many words do I know? Probably too many. I get confused often. So there's a thing called self-editing, right? I edit my writing a lot. I always have an editor as well, but I edit my writing as I am writing it. I also have started editing my speech as I speak it. So often if I trip up, it's because I'm editing the sentence I'm saying as I say it. So that's why I say I might know too many words, or at least edit them too often. It's kind of annoying. I'm trying to get better about it. Ava, yeah, on Video App, if you want to tell me your book idea, my guy, go for it. I'd love to hear it. Slindy, you said, I don't know how you oversweeten coffee. You hate coffee. Well, It's an acquired taste over time. I like my coffee a little more bitter, and I ran out of sugar today, and I have this like caramel sauce topping I put in there. You can tell it messed the color up. It's not good. Alion, you said I built an entire cosmology for my storyline. How should I start it? Find the point that is most exciting to you, that you most want to tell, and start there. That's probably the best place to start if you're dealing with, a whole bunch of world building ahead of all that. Do your books come all around the globe? Asked Xi Jinping. Is it pronounced Jinping? I think it is. Anyway, do your books ship all around the world? Yeah, so I sell them through various marketplaces around the world. So check your local Amazon, if not your local bookstore's online catalog, and it's probably available. I know that I give sales going around the world, so you can probably find it out there. Altherion Lazarathorn said, it seems that you've made a lot. As a new web novelist, I'm happy and admire your creations. Well, thank you, my man. And congrats to you. It's an exciting place to be. I think web novels are pretty darn... I'm not going to say the future of writing, but they're building momentum, and I think they're going places. It's a good time to be getting into it. So rock on, dude. And if you have any questions along your journey, please ask. I'm happy to help. 4-6, you went with the black decaf coffee today. All right. Well, I'm sure yours tastes better than mine with the oversweetened mess that I've got going on. Frog asked, do you believe authors should be in spaces where people review their books? Oh, man. Okay. Challenging question here. I think it is up to the author if they want to be in a space where people are reading and reviewing books. I think that the author should not respond to reviews and people's criticism of their book. Maybe you can respond to the praise if you want, but I think that's fine. But I feel like reviews are for readers, and authors just get influenced for better or for worse by reading reviews too much. What makes your book, your storytelling most strong is your unique voice, and I think allowing outside information to affect it too much just dilutes your unique storytelling. I also think that readers should feel free to share their reviews online for other readers or potential readers, and they shouldn't have to worry about offending the author by saying they didn't like something. So I think it's really the onus is on reviewers. Shouldn't specifically tag authors, but more importantly, I think authors should determine if they want to be in those spaces, but shouldn't really take an active part in them, basically. Kind of like I don't review the books that I read, simply because I feel biased, or at least I review them on an anonymous account because it feels wrong to have it tied to my professional name. It feels influenced, right? Whereas I'm just trying to give an honest review, but I don't want it to be like, Alex Knight gave this 5 stars, or Alex Knight didn't quite love this book. But it's a complicated answer in an evolving discussion. Thank you for asking, though. It's a good one. Eddie, you said, could I explain in 1 to 2 sentences what my books are about? You'd like to buy one. Well, awesome, my dude. Yes, I can absolutely do that. Here, let me grab... I have a list of my 2-sentence pitches for each book. So here, let me move chat out of the way, and I'll pull them... I'll go cover by cover here. So, starting with Wriggly Little Hands, here's my pitch for it. Those pesky forces of good might have finally beaten the Dark Lord, unless a bumbling family of goblins can complete their quest to retrieve his doomsday weapon. There's my quick pitch for Wriggly Little Hands. It's a comedy fantasy. If we go to Servant of Rage, the Great Khan conquered the world with the help of insidious magic that disappeared with his death. When 3 brothers rediscover it, they can reclaim their people's glory, but the magic has sinister plans of its own. That one's more dark fantasy, a lot of fight scenes, kind of Dragon Ball Z-esque. Let's do Warden. This one's a trilogy. Wrongfully imprisoned, Kaiden can earn early release by working as a digital cop in the world's most popular online game. But he uses the role to prove his innocence, and accidentally uncovers a vast conspiracy in the process. Warden is a lit RPG where playing an online game might just bring down the government. If we go to The Far Wild, next. This is a Jurassic Park-esque thriller. When a skyship goes missing in the primordial jungle, it's up to an egotistical adventurer and a meek academic to lead the rescue, prevent war between empires, and try not to get everyone eaten in the process. This one's very much like Jurassic Park in a fantasy setting. And then we'll do Rise to Glory, another lit RPG. Here we go. When video games become as popular as pro sports, Bash the Berserker just needs one more win to go pro. Too bad he's kicked off his team and forced to lead a new one made of misfits, all while playing as a 3-foot-tall elf. This one's kind of like a D&D World of Warcraft type adventure. It's pretty fun. So, thank you for asking, and there's a quick breakdown of them all. I hope that helped. Alright, back to the questions. Sorry, that was a bit of a long one. Let's see. Lines and Lore, have you ever considered running a Kickstarter for a project? Luckily, I haven't really needed to. I know there's a lot of folks can make a lot of money and get a better launch through doing that. Personally, I'm really just interested in the writing. So if I don't have to do a Kickstarter, I don't really want to because I think it would just slow down my writing. I really got into this simply because I just love writing. So that's really what I try to do with most of my time. I'm sure it could help though. Slendy, you said there's a difference between constructive criticism and respectful reviews versus being mean. You're right. You're right. That's a good addition to the do authors belong in spaces where people are reviewing their books question. Thoughts on Roald Dahl? I like his stories. I don't like his politics or personal opinions. It's a shame that his legacy is tarnished by them. How long do revisions take for you? Asked Atav. I try to get through them as quick as possible because I do a lot of editing as I write, so it minimizes how much revising I have to do. Also, I just don't like editing, basically. So I think I spend about a week per book on revisions. That's my goal. Frogbelly, what book am I most proud of or maybe just enjoyed writing the most? I answered this earlier, and my answer is always the same. I have no favorite children. I love all of my books equally. I have never written one book that I like more than the others. They're all equal in my eyes. Hope that helps. Eddie, you said Warden and Rise to Glory sound very cool. They sound like a German book, Erebos, which you really like. Erebos. All right, I'm going to write that down. Let me make a note of that. I'll look it up after stream. But thank you. If you try them, I hope you enjoy them, my friend. Baby Rin, the Spinosaurus. Very cute profile picture. You said, what's the best way to make your perfect villain dialogue? Make a perfect villain dialogue, in your opinion. Give them information that the main characters don't have and allow them to operate on that information. It'll make them sound It'll make them sound ahead of the curve, and just like kind of one step ahead of the characters. I think that's the best way to do it. It's probably what I would go for, at least. By the way, AVA over on Video App, I never read your follow-up. You said for your book idea, your main character's name is Ryan. An accident happened to his sister, and she died. When a woman Dr. Ward came to his home, telling him about a project to revive her. So your book's about bringing people back to life. All right. Well, I'd like to see what you do with it, man. Thanks for sharing. Sir Paint, good morning on Video App. Welcome in, my guy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're warm in this cold winter storm. Royale, good to see you, my guy. Welcome in. Casper, I think it's how it's pronounced. You said, as an author, do you gain inspiration from movies? Oh, yeah. I gain inspiration from all facets of any storytelling. Be that reading, watching movies, TV shows, real life, history, podcasts, all that stuff. It's all valid sources of inspiration. So, yeah. Weirdly enough, I have been learning how to repair pinball machines recently, and looking at the internal mechanisms of them has inspired me. In the next time I write like a D&D or lit RPG story that has like dungeons, I want to write a dungeon inspired by the inner workings of a pinball machine. There's a lot of cool mechanics in there that would make a cool like moving maze, essentially. So I think that's an example of how inspiration can really come from anywhere. Thank you, y'all, for the questions. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for being here. Let's see if I can answer a few more. Reach for Life, you said, what are your thoughts on the cultivation genre? I like it. I think it's a cool genre. Perhaps a little too much meditation and introspective thought for my taste, but I think cultivation is doing cool things. And I actually have a bit. This is a cultivation light story, so if you're into that, that's similar to it. I think it's a good genre, and it's cool to see it growing. Spring Chicken, you said you finished your first 80,000 word manuscript, and you're kind of regretting not doing some editing as you went. Oh, are you staring down the full hurdle of editing that whole book now? Chicken, that's why I edit while I go, because it's such a pain once you get there. But, let me put down my coffee here. Congratulations on finishing it. Rock and roll, man. That's awesome. I'm proud of you. It's not easy to do that. And good luck with the editing. That one... I hate it. Londinium, what's my opinion on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I've never watched a full episode, but the clips I've seen look interesting and fun, and I respect that. Plus, I love working out, and I love that show is just like weirdly fixated on people with just like immaculate physiques. So, a positive is my opinion. Derek Bourne, good to see you, my guy. Sorry, I'm running a bit behind on chat, but how you doing, buddy? How's it going? You say, still waiting for Alex to write a book with dinosaurs. Well, Derek, let me pull it up. Not dinosaurs, because I couldn't... This is my book inspired by Jurassic Park, but I couldn't rip it off too exactly, right? So instead of dinosaurs, we did creatures from prehistory, such as giant Komodo dragons, or terror birds instead of raptors. So if you're looking for dinosaur-slash-dinosaur-inspired creatures, we got a little bit going on here. But how you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Hope you've been well. Frog Belly said, are any of my characters inspired by real people? Yes. I like to, if I'm trying to find inspiration for a character, I might grab an actor or a role they have played that I really like and use that as a starting point for a character. For reference, for example, one of the characters in the Nova Online series that I wrote was inspired by Jeff Goldblum. And I made it a challenge to try to write a character that talked and acted like Goldblum, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm a big fan of picking character actors or strong characters to inspire your character building. 4-6, I have not watched Solo Leveling. I've read a bit of it, but I haven't watched the ensuing works created from it. Fat Frog, you said, as writing is my job, even if you feel inspired during my work hours, will you write or leave it? So I try to write during my work hours very consistently. I will sometimes write outside of my work hours. The issue with that is it's good if you're inspired, but I got to be really careful that I don't do too much, because that's how you invite burnout in. And I'm prioritizing consistency over bulk output, because honestly, you get more output by being consistent than by writing a lot really fast. So I try not to work too much outside my work hours. I did that a lot in 2025, and I burned out hard for the last quarter of the year. So I learned that lesson the hard way. Adrian, you said, do you think that you would do well writing a research paper since you're an author? I wrote research papers in college. I the basic writing of them, sentence to sentence, I did a good job with. As to actually research, parsing information, relaying that information, I think I still did an okay job, but I don't really enjoy doing it, and that definitely affects the final product, Marius, you said, how many lit RPG books have I written? 5 here in this series. This is a standalone. 3 here in this series. So what is that, 9? So I've got 9 so far, and I'm looking at I'm pitching a new one around to publishers right now. So hopefully they bite, and I can do another one in future. I intend to write more for sure. I really like the genre. Reach for Life. Every time when I watch your live, it's always so interesting. You can't leave. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for being here. I'm glad it's entertaining. Hopefully entertaining and informative. And just a good way to start the day, I hope. It certainly is for me, so thank you all for joining me. It is an inspiring, good way to get fired up to tackle the work week. Lei Heng, you said, hey, author, asking you a question. Do you add guns to it, like primitive guns, in your writing? In the Far Wild, they have black powder, so there's a little bit of very, very early firearms. That's about it. Well, I guess Nova is sci-fi, so yeah, they got full-on spaceships and lasers and stuff in that one. But I prefer close quarters combat or medieval type weapons more so. Magic, bows, arrows, swords, spears, that sort of thing. Altherion, you said, I realize writing a story isn't simple as you lead with feelings, but extreme systematic progression. In terms of lit RPG, I guess you're saying? It's a balance. It's a balance between the two. And learning that balance is part of progressing more as an author. You know, you find that balance point the more you write. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate y'all. And for the good questions. 46, you have a question about Friday. You believe I know what you're going to ask. Fishing dock. Yes, my guy. We will definitely get one in there. A lot of good places for it on the current map. We'll find a good spot for it. Ella May, what inspired you to make these fantasy books? I read a lot, and I had a lot of cool stories that I read, and it just kind of made me want to write my own stories. And that's what I've done. I'm flattered and honored that I get to do it as a job, and now I'm trying to do it not just to entertain myself, but to entertain other readers, and hopefully spread some goodwill and some empathy and some bad jokes into the world. Bucky the Elf, you said you're writing a war novel. Any tips for pacing? Pacing should be... This is a tough one. For a war novel specifically, I think it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to make it a page-turner, keep the pace up. Keep it, action-heavy, twists and turns, etc. If you're trying to do something like All Quiet on the Western Front and give a more perhaps realistic or gritty look, I think you would be better served. It wouldn't make it a more, it would make it less of a page-turner, less of a fast-read book. But, folks say that war is long periods of boredom punctuated by moments of terror. You could go for that in your pacing. It's really up to you, honestly. But it depends on what type of book you're trying to write. Are you trying to make it a fast page-turner, or are you trying to make it a more introspective, reflective tale? It's kind of up to which way you're trying to do that. Pokebeast said, would you ever sell your IP? And if so, what are some non-negotiables for a film studio? Honestly, as long as the core message of the story isn't corrupted in any way, I think it'd all be negotiable if a film studio wants to throw enough money at me. I would love to see some of my stuff put on screen, especially Wrigley Little Hands. Let me pull it up bigger. This would be an incredible animated movie. I think that'd be incredible. And also, I wrote this one to be just so visually dramatic. It's like Dragon Ball Z, basically. I would love to see this produced as well. There's just a lot of cool visuals with the magic and the fight scenes. I think they literally bring down a cliffside and ride it while fighting down a mountainside at one point. It would be so cool for animation. Ella May, you said, what are my favorite books that I read when I was young? The Dragonlance Chronicles were big for me when I was young. Also, the Discworld books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Those were kind of my big ones. And that led me down the path of sci-fi and fantasy, just reading more and more, books as adult books as I aged. What about you, Ella? What was foundational for you? Zame, would I ever reach out to studios to get my books on screen? I think the way that it goes is they reach out to you. You have to have a certain level of success in sales in order for them to consider it. And I think realistically, you just have to sell enough. And I'm not knowledgeable in this area, so I could be totally wrong. But I think you just have to sell enough that it gets on a producer's radar and they get interested in coming to you to acquire the film rights. I don't think you pitch them with your books. But like I said, could be wrong. Triune Kingdom on Video App. You said All Quiet on the Western Front 2, the second great White House barbecue. All right. Sure, I guess. Bucky, you said you're thinking introspective. Okay, so if you're going introspective, then don't worry about making it a really fast-paced story. Your progression through the story will be through the characters', inner thoughts, realizations. So that story basically has permission to move a bit slower. Louise said, what do I think is the best book that I have written? Best? I think if we're talking most complete story in terms of like emotions and character growth and stuff, I think it's probably Servant of Rage. There's a lot of introspection mixed into the action, and I think once the trilogy is finished, which I'm finishing it this year, it's going to be a very nice complete story. I love Wriggly Little Hands up here, but it is a little bit vapid. It's got some heart and some feeling to it, but it's largely there for goofs and fun. It's like a Pixar movie. Grief, you said A Song of Ice and Fire is literally your biggest inspiration. Rock and roll, man. It's good books. Very good books. I hope Martin finishes them, because it's a good story. It deserves an ending. I have not seen the Night Angel trilogy, Ragged. I don't think, at least, unless I know it by a different name. Sabby, you said it's so hard to pick a genre. Is it unheard of to write in different genres and demographics? So you can do that, Sabby. And in fact, I have made a little bit of a mistake in my career by doing that a bit too much. Because if you're trying to write to make money, right? The way that you do that is by either having one book that's a massive success. That's probably not going to happen. For 99.9% of authors, that's not going to happen. So the way that you make money is by having consistent books that feel similar. So that if, say, someone reads one of your books and goes, oh, this was great, I'd love to see more of this, and they click to see what else you've written, you want to have more books similar to the first one that are ready for them to buy. And then you just keep writing books like that, so that every time you get a new reader, if they look at what else you've written, because they liked one book, they're more likely to like the other book. So you don't want to drop like a hard-boiled detective mystery, and then your next book is just a goofy, fun little book, right? Like, those two readerships tend not to cross from hard-boiled detective stories into light novel, comedy novel territory. So you want consistency in the tone and feel of your books, if you're writing to make money. If you're just writing for fun, throw all that out the window and do whatever the heck you want, and that's a beautiful thing, honestly. J4400 said, what was the most challenging book I've written? It's still Servant of Rage. Like I said, I think that's the most complete book in terms of character growth, emotions, the journey the character goes on, the dramatic fight scenes. Like, there's a lot of elements there that I really cared about getting right. So that was probably the hardest one that I've written. Sticking the landing at the end of the trilogy is going to be a big challenge, but I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it. What's difficult to write, the plot or the characters? It's going to be a personal thing for you. I think plot is more difficult for me. Characters come pretty naturally. But this answer is going to change based on every person. Just what you're naturally good at and what you enjoy more. I apologize, I can't read your name, but I think it's a Jawa in your profile picture. You said, do you need to go to college to have better story making skills? No, not at all. It could help, but I did go to a pretty prestigious creative writing program. I learned under a Pulitzer Prize winning author. I did not feel that I got good value out of it. I think that my time could have been better spent spending those 4 years just reading a ton of books and writing a ton of stories. It's basically what I did in college, and I got more growth as an author out of that than I did my creative writing courses. So I don't think you need to go to college for it. I think you learn by doing, basically. And that's a beautiful thing, in my opinion. I do not make my cover art. I have cover artists do that, so I have made a special screen just for this question. Here are the cover artists' names for all of my books. Shout out to them. They're all credited on the first page of any of my books. But these are the wonderful artists that I've worked with to do this art, because I could not do this. They make incredible stuff. Lukeoff, you said, are you allowed to share the names of any content you worked on as a ghostwriter? I am not. I can't share the titles, and often, for a lot of them, I didn't know the final title. The publisher would just come to me and go, we need a romance novella featuring characters who meet in cosplay and fall for each other, and then don't know that they are already co-workers because they don't recognize each other when they're in costume. So like they'll just give me like that and then say run with it. And I won't even know the final title of the book. Luckily, I don't do a lot of ghostwriting these days, but the large majority of books that I ghostwrote, I not only didn't know the title, I basically sent it to the publisher, and they would just be like, thank you, and then go off and do their own thing with it, and I'd never hear about that book again. It was very, write book, get paid, write next book. Good answer, NA League support. You know what's up. You said if you do, an addendum to my answer about genre hopping, if you do want to write different genres, you can do it under a different pen name. And that's very correct, League support. I see that from established authors. They'll often have two pen names, like one that they only write romance under and one that they only write fantasy under. Now, it's hard because you're kind of managing two, well, personalities, essentially. You know, you have a website for each one, perhaps. Maybe they're merged on the same website, but it's a good way so that readers of pen name A know, oh yeah, this is where I find all their romance books, and readers of pen name B know this is where I find all their mystery books, or whatever. Alright, y'all, I got like 5 more minutes here, so I'm going to try to wrap up the answers. Thank you for the lovely questions. Thank you for following. Thank you for being here. Let's get a few more answers in. And I'll do one more quick plug. If you want to read any of my books, they're all linked in my bio. It's fantasy here, lit RPG down below. And I would be flattered if you'd pick up one and let me know what you think about it. Grief, I believe you asked for advice on writing a first book that has a lot of different storylines. It's okay, as you said here in the first book, that the storylines don't necessarily intersect. That's okay as long as you have a purpose for each point of view. You don't want to have too many points of view in your book unless they all have a justifiable reason for being there and contribute to the story in a meaningful way. As long as they do that, you're good, man. Rock and roll. Neo said, do you ever write in a way to make it easy to adapt to a film? I don't have that in the forefront of my mind. The only thing I do for like film writing essentially is I try to do very visual writing, and that's just something I do anyway because I think it's really fun. But I am an imagery first writer. I think about how things look as I'm writing them. A lot of folks have different ways they do this. Some are dialogue first, some are thought first. I'm more of an imagery first author. Josh, you said favorite writer's prose style. Oh, that's tough. I really like Michael Crichton's simplicity in delivering dramatic twists, but I also really like Tolkien's verbose, beautiful, long-winded prose. But I think above anything else, I prefer Douglas Adams's prose. I like how he's kind of straight to the point and then takes a meandering long description to set up some ridiculous joke. I think it's a really nice mix, and I think he inspired my writing style a lot. Does reading more books help improve story making? It does. It absolutely does. Reading more is only ever going to make you a better author. Oh, other name. Interesting. You said, other name wasn't available, asked, does a sequel inherently have to follow the same genre as the first book? It should. If you're writing to make money, it should, because that's what readers expect. If they come to a fantasy book and they read book 1 of a fantasy series, they are going to want book 2 to also be fantasy and feel similar to book 1 while growing and expanding the story. So yeah, it should be in the same genre. Maybe there's a creative way you could put a twist on it, but I'm not aware of it. 4-6, yes, ghostwriters do get paid. There's different types of ghostwriting. Sometimes you might ghostwrite, like most celebrity books are ghostwritten. Even if sometimes they say it's co-written, it really means ghostwritten. There's different types of ghostwriting with different payment structures. The one that I was doing was I would get either a lump sum for writing the book, just a flat fee, or I would get paid a certain number of cents per word in the book. And then no royalties for any of those. Baum, good to see you. Welcome in. I see you got a birthday stream coming up soon. That is exciting. I hope that goes well. I'm going to see if I can make it. No promises, but it would be cool to stop in there. So happy early birthday, and welcome in. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well in this storm, these winter conditions. And following up on that, Luke, you said, is the storm affecting you? It's just made it really cold outside. We were lucky. Not a lot of ice made it down here to Houston. And specifically, I'm on the Gulf Coast, so I'm south of Houston. So the Gulf of Mexico was keeping us nice and relatively warm. It's a lot colder, even a couple miles north of us. Cosmic Spaniel. That's a fun name. How can I trick readers to believe the story is one thing, but later reveal it to be another? I'm not sure initially. Set expectations, basically. Either overtly state expectations of what's going to happen, or suggest subtly expectations and then subvert them. Would be the way to do it. Like, you might set up foreshadowing, and then instead of foreshadowing what they expect, you give a twist. That's probably the way to do it. I'm not too certain, though, and I'm not too confident in my answer on that one. I apologize. Let's see. If I miss your question, please do ask again, but I'm going to do about two more minutes here. Then I got to go get to work. Got to do my writing today. T-Angels, I do play D&D. I'm a big fan. Ella, you said might be a basic question, but what's your favorite drink? If we're talking non-alcoholic, it's coffee. I love coffee. My morning cup of coffee is just a wonderful routine, basically. I don't even like it so much because I love the drink. I just like sitting down with a nice hot cup of coffee in the morning. It's just, I don't know, it's a pleasing way to start the day. What about you? Baby Co, you said suggestions for kingdom building genre books. I've not really read many of those, so I couldn't really give any suggestions, but folks, if you have any in chat, please do let Baby Co know. I've heard of a lot of them in the lit RPG genre, but I've not really read any. Pokebeast, can you live off ghostwriting? You can, absolutely. In fact, I would probably make more money ghostwriting than I would as an author. The difference is you don't get to write the books that you want to. You get to write the books that the publisher or the client wants you to write. And to me, that was kind of torment because my dream was to be an author. And part of that dream is writing the stories I'm excited about. And ghostwriting allowed me to write fiction all day, every day, but it wasn't exactly the fiction I wanted to. It was the fiction I was being paid to. So it was like really close to my dream, but not exact. And that was almost more tormenting than just working a regular 9 to 5 and then writing in the evenings. What fantasy series would I recommend to anyone? It's a good question. I think something like Terry Pratchett books, the Discworld books, have very, very broad appeal. Outside of that, I'm going to definitely say it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Dragonlance Chronicles by Tracy Weiss, or Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I always confuse their last names. Dragonlance Chronicles, I think, is just a great introduction for fantasy. And it's easy, fun reading. You can't really go wrong with it. Other name, you said you have a concept of a single world with a book of every genre from it. Hey, you're welcome to do that. I am not the end-all, be-all of good ideas. If you want to go for it, man, go for it. No one knows what the next big thing's going to be. You could be onto something there. If you're excited about it, enough about it, go for it, man. I agree with Leisha, though. She says, feeling like setting out to trick your audience isn't a good idea. I agree. You want your tricks and your twists and your turns in your story to be surprising, but also to be satisfying. They should excite the reader and make them want to read more, not pull the rug out from beneath them in such a way that they feel cheated. Luke off said, I know you can write on literally anything, but how does a good desk/PC setup affect your workflow? I think what's most important is the thing that is easiest for you. Whatever allows you to get into your writing groove fastest is what you should use. That could be pen and paper, could be a typewriter, could be a dumb word processor. They sell like dumb devices that are literally just a screen and a keyboard and a little bit of memory so you can just sit there and write. Could be an easy laptop, could be a whole big computer setup. For me, it's just a laptop. That's my best writing flow, is just on my MacBook. Really, whatever allows you to write easiest with the least interruptions and the least distractions is probably what's best. Baum, you said you've started using Obsidian, the note planning / lore building app, and you said there's always more to learn, but it's been lovely for you. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Rock and roll. I know a lot of folks like it and recommend it, so I'm glad it's working for you. It looks complex, but it looks cool. Sir Quirt, you said, why did I think this was Asmongold? Well, my friend, up it goes again. Welcome in, buddy. The Asmongold counter climbs again. Here we go, 102. And while I'm here, I'll go ahead and turn off the question text, because we're going to wrap it up here. So I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then we'll call it quits for the day and get to my writing. Zach, good to see you, my guy. Sorry you're joining right at the end. But folks, if you missed a lot of the stream today, go to links in my profile. You can go to my video app page, YouTube. Don't tell TikTok I said that. And all my streams are recorded there, so you can watch it back and see the questions that were asked and answered. But let's do 2 more here. Let's see. Joe, you have trouble making flaws for a character. So when giving a character flaws, it needs to be something that holds them back. And a flaw, I think, should come from a positive trait. What I mean by that is the character should want something so bad that they're willing to do like anything to achieve it, right? And that holds them back in a way. They have to realize like moderation or be more reasonable at what they're going for. Or they could want something so bad that it blinds them from other ways of tackling it. They get tunnel vision onto one way to solve a thing. So I think a good flaw comes from the character's wants, and that's what holds them back. Or you can make it come from past trauma, past experiences. But a good flaw relates to what a character wants and the journey they're going to go on. Hopefully that makes sense for you. All right, we'll do 1 more question. Thank you for the follows. Show me the money. I am familiar with Tolkien. We're not going to count that as the last question of the day. I love Tolkien's work. I'm rereading Fellowship right now. Almost done with it. Having a lot of fun. So good. All right, y'all. 1 more question. Drop it in chat. I'll pick 1 more to answer, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. And please don't make it a math equation. While we wait for it, thank you very much for being here, folks. I appreciate you. If you don't know, I am author Alex Knight. These are my books, at least my book ones. Fantasy up top, Lit RPG down below. They're all linked in my profile if you want to check them out. So please do, and let me know what you think of them. They are how I support myself. Baum, you said, how far do you plan a villain without getting lost in the sauce before even starting the writing? I come up with the villain from the beginning, and as I plan the main character's role in the story, I also plan the villain's role in the story, because I believe that villains should not just be like an evil presence. A villain is a main character who is trying to achieve their goals, just like the protagonist, just in a different way, and their trajectories intersect because of that. Protagonist is trying to do this. Villain's trying to do this. And because they're both going that way, they collide, and that's where the conflict of the story comes from, the intersection of the protagonist and the antagonist both going out of their way to achieve what they feel they want or they need to achieve. So a villain really is someone who stands in the way of the protagonist because they are also on their way to their own goal, and both goals can't be achieved, so they have to collide and intersect. So I plan the villain right off in the beginning along with the main character. So there we go. I think it's a good one to end on. Thank you for asking, Baum. That was a good one. In a league, or Nikki, you said, what books have I written? Here they are. They're also linked in my bio if you want to check them out. I'd appreciate it. While I do stream, I make my living as an author. That's where my income comes from. Income comes from. It's kind of hard to say. So if you want to pick up my books, it will support the stream. Please give them a look. I would appreciate it. So everybody, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate you. We will be back Wednesday with a wild card stream. I don't know what format that's going to be just yet. So come on back then and see what it's going to be. But on Friday, which I'll be back for Friday, we will be doing Fantasy Map Friday. Is that actually, are we doing that this week? Hold on. Let me check my schedule real quick. I think I'm going to be out of town on Friday, so we might need to change things up a little bit. No. That is next. I think that's next week. Yes, that is next week. Next week I'm out of town. So Friday will be a normal Friday this week. So yes, Fantasy Map Friday this Friday. Wild card stream on Wednesday. So don't know what format we're gonna do. But come on back then. I'll take suggestions in the meantime if you got any ideas. Or we could go back to a beloved classic format like reading the opening lines of your favorite books, or looking at the covers and talking about the cover art. Who knows? Could be. But until then, thank you very much for joining me today, folks. I appreciate you. I appreciate the follows and the great questions. I hope that I have helped a little bit. Certainly helped me. It's been a great day. Great way to start off the day. So, as always, thank you to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for the use of his songs Farm, Manor, Cottages, and Northern Glade, which have provided our background music today. As well, an extra special thank you to community member Raffi the Engineer, who produced and wrote and provided our 5th background song, Midnight at the Round Table. Thank you to my moderators, Melissa Lee 28, Raffi the Engineer, One Happy Harpy, The Seth Word, Other Name Wasn't Available, aka Slindy, Leisha T, and Aaron Winnick. Thank you very much for being here and moderating chat. I appreciate y'all, but I also appreciate chat for not needing much moderation. Truly, y'all do a very good job. It's a good vibe. I appreciate you bringing that good energy. Thank you for being here. Folks, if you've enjoyed the stream, please give me a follow so I can see you on the next one. Otherwise, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I will see y'all on the next one. Be excellent to each other. Stay warm in this storm. I will catch you on Wednesday, folks. Have a good one. Peace out.